My name is Ugochukwu Obunaya, and I for Impact in God's Kingdom. My name is Ugochukwu Obunaya, and spread the news and spread the gospel. Thank you so much. I look forward to much more and exploring my skills in the world at large for Impact in God's Kingdom.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. From this side, let me do a quick confirmation if you guys can hear me properly. So, please, if you can hear me, just do it to just type a hi, please. Okay, checking that. Okay. Okay, cool. It's okay. I got that. Thank you. So, my name is Emil Buchudi John. I didn't put the John there. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Remedial Health. I'm a software developer at heart as well. One thing about coding, once it's something you love, it doesn't actually end, you continue doing it. So for today's class, class 3, I'll be taking you guys on software development methodologies. If you have any question, please feel free to drop it at the chat. Once you're on break, I'll find time to go through them and answer the ones I can. Before I dive in, let me do like a quick advice. It will probably look as if I'm preaching, but I feel this is necessary. I think I will say it from the introduction on ML class we had. It's not going to be easy. Some of us might have been wondering, for the past 3 classes, all we have been doing is talking. When are we going to start the actual code? But the thing is, you don't watch something that's good. There's a difference between a programmer and an engineer and a software engineer. Assuming we are just here just to do program, we would have dived into code and start giving you syntax and all. And as a programmer, you're only focused on the task given to you. Just probably you're given a feature and you focus on just writing that feature and you're done. But as a software engineer, it's your job to see things from start to finish. And that is why it's necessary for you to know the necessary step to get something done in the proper way, down from the design phase, the implementation phase, to the deployment and maintenance phase. Hence, we are doing all these lectures. So, please just find time to follow up with me. Okay. So we proceed to the class proper. Can we proceed? I think, yeah, we can proceed. Okay. So I'll start with the introduction. Like I said, the topic is software development methodologies. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so moving to the next slide. Okay, welcome to class 3. Cool. Okay. For some reason, this slide is disjointed. Yeah, but no problem. So, what would we be covering today? Let me see if I can make this bigger. No, I can't. Okay, so for today, we'll be doing introduction to software development methodology. We'll cover the common software's methodology. We'll also be discussing Waterfall methodology, Agile, the popular Agile everyone must have heard of. We'll be discussing DevOps approach as well. Then we'll make comparisons among Waterfall, Agile, and DevOps. Then we'll discuss how to choose the right methodology. I'll try as much as possible to keep this brief and enlightened. I'll try as much as possible not to give you too much information that you won't really need. There is always time. So one thing about software engineering as a whole is most of the learning you learn to do by yourself. So that is why we are focused on making sure you get the proper foundation needed for you to explore your own. And another thing I want to state again, even if it's not part of what I'm giving class in the class for today, is you need to understand that the programming language doesn't matter. Language is just a syntax. So what you should focus on is understanding the process of programming as a whole, software development as a whole. Then language, you can play with any language you want. When I started my own, it's like I'm telling a lot of stories, but please bear with me. Can you guys hear me? I'm seeing some complaints about network. Okay, I think it's just for certain people. So I'll proceed. Okay, cool. So when I started my software engineering journey, first of all, I studied computer science in school. I think I'm supposed to say story before I started this, but let's go. I studied computer science in school, 4 years. But one thing about our beautiful country, Nigeria, it's a disclaimer. Many a times you don't get what you want by just going to school. You need to push yourself to learn further. So after school, I started programming with Java. I did Java for a while. It wasn't making sense. All I know is I was trusting the process. Then service as well. I still paid for some tuitions to learn that same Java, same thing. Learning, when I got to the school to learn, that is after my university days, I was still taught the same thing I was taught while I was in school. Same thing. I'm like, why are they always repeating this same thing? Is it like there's nothing new to what these guys are trying to teach me? Then I got an internship role in a company. We moved to C Sharp. Then from C Sharp, we did Laravel. Then it was when I started doing Laravel that everything that I've been doing on from the days of Java and C Sharp started making sense. So the thing is, when you give yourself opportunity to explore with various languages, it makes it easier for you to understand whichever language you want to take as your core. So I still let me state that out. So proceed to the class. If there's any question, please feel free to drop it by the chat. So we're starting with introduction. Yeah, introduction. So learning objectives. What do I want us to achieve from the whole of this? So by this, by the end of this, we want to be able to define what software development methodology is and its importance, describe the principles behind Agile, Waterfall, DevOps, compare methodologies, and being able to apply which one suits certain projects. As of from the first class and the second class, I realized that so many of us have projects we have in mind that we want to do. So the thing is, what software methodology suits into these projects we want to do? Some might be one, so you might end up combining two methodologies. So I'm hoping that by the end of this class, you should be able to decide on your own. Okay? So let's proceed. Go to the next slide. What's introduction to software development methodology? What is software methodology? So for me, I'm not a bookie person, but still, I try my best. For me, if I'm asked what is software methodology, I'll start from splitting it. We have two words here. We have software and we have methodology. So, what is a software? I wish I could get feedback. Probably I'll leave that for the chat. Say it's a software development. Okay, no, I'll leave that for the chat. So you ask yourself, what is a software and what is methodology? So, how does these two words make up software methodology? So we know that software, you can see it as a set of programs that tells the computer what to do, or probably a set of action you're trying to perform through computer programs. Methodologies, you can say probably methods and steps to do a certain thing. So now we're saying software development methodology. So this simply means steps, procedures, structures you take in developing a software. So now let me get what I have here. So we have a software development methodology is a framework used to structure, plan, and manage the software development process. Its goal is to ensure the delivery of software in accordance with project specifications within time and budget, and with minimized project risk. So we are not saying that you cannot build softwares without following methodologies. Some of us have been probably doing one or two projects on the side without even understanding what software methodology is. But we are saying that you can achieve more and plan better when you know this. Okay? So now let's move to the next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay, so let's have a control of this. So the next slide is why methodologies matters in software projects. So basically, which is part of the definition, it gives you structural approach and planning. Okay, thank you. It gives you structural approach and planning. Like from the definition itself, it's giving you steps you can use in planning your software, your development process. So with that, you can easily plan. You can easily communicate and collaborate both with the stakeholders of that project. If you are doing it for a certain people, you can also communicate with the end users as well. You are carrying them along the process of building the software. And if it's for yourself as well, you can collaborate with your team members building that software. That is one of the reasons why applying methodologies is a good thing. Then the next thing is quality and consistency. By the time we go through some of the various methodologies we have, we see that each of them have ensured that quality and consistency are not left out. So by the virtue of the fact that you are following it, you're already ensuring that the software you are putting out there for the end users and for your stakeholders have quality and they are consistent. They will also have efficient project management. By using methodologies, you can easily predict how long a project should take you. So for instance, let's say you are asked to probably do one or two contracts for an organization. They will not like you to give them an infinite answer, so you don't really know when this project is going to end. But by understanding methodologies, you can easily say, okay, based on the design phase, based on the integration phase, this project is going to take maybe 2 or 3 months maximum. You can easily estimate. They will also have adaptability, and flexibility. So there are some cases whereby probably you have a vision of building a certain software. Let me say, I saw somebody mention during the last class, the previous class, something about a church dating website and all. Probably when you started the project, you have a clear vision of what it should look like. But by the time you started working on it, you started discovering some other parts you didn't factor in while you were thinking of that project. So that is how methodology comes in from the angle of being flexible. So it gives you the chance to adjust your plan to meet up with these new stuff you are seeing that are now important on your project based on you are now working on it. Okay. So these are 5 reasons why it matters in software projects. Okay. So I'll just quickly look at the chat if there's any question. We can be screenshotting the slides before it's being sent by DSA. Okay, for the slides. Okay, that is a good idea though. But your slides will still be sent to you guys. Okay. So let's proceed. So I'm going to the next slide now. Okay. So common software development methodologies. So popular software methodologies will have waterfall, like the name waterfall. I don't know if we have waterfall in Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, like candy jam and all. So it's like something falling. You can never see the water going back up. So we have Agile, we have Scrum, we have Kanban, we have Lean Spirit, we have rapid application development, but we'll be focusing more on Waterfall and Agile. But you see, all these methodologies I've mentioned so far can be categorized into either they are sequential, meaning from top to bottom, no chance to go back. They're iterative, like your for loop and your while loop, repeating something continuously, repeating something, or they are continuous. They don't really end. Like for instance, now stuff like your WhatsApp, it's like almost every 3 or 4 days you are seeing updates. So it's a continuous growth, it's a continuous improvement and all. So each of all these methodologies, either they are sequential or they are iterative or they are continuous. Okay, so we proceed to the next slide. I don't know if I'm too fast. If I'm too fast, you can drop a message concerning that. I will try and slow it down. But I'm trying to keep what I'm saying more focused on what you should need. Okay, you still have time. Yeah, when we are starting the practical class. So this is part of what I said when we started, that you need to be patient. Time is coming for practical. In fact, you get tired of doing practical, but you're avoiding a case of by the time you start doing your practical, you end up pushing what I call beans to the sour. So that is why you need to understand all these procedures. Okay, so please be patient for your own sake. Okay, so let's proceed. So I go to the next slide. So we're starting with waterfall, like I said. Software and web development. So let me answer that question quickly. So someone asked if software development and web development is the same. So software development encompasses both the web, the mobile, and all. So web is just a branch of software development. It's still part of software development. Okay. So please, when we get the slides, that is not really on me, but you certainly get the slides. Plans are made for some frequent class that you should get the slides before the class. So just bear with us. Okay, so we proceed. Waterfall methodology. So I'm starting with the definition and origin, even if that is not really your problem. But I'm sorry, you're here with me. It's your problem, it's my problem. The waterfall model is a traditional software development methodology. It was first introduced by Wilson in 1970. It's a linear, you will get there. So the thing is, many of us, and I get where you guys are. Sorry, I should kindly slow down. Someone say I should continue, so say I should slow down. Okay, I'll try. Okay. So let me slow down by attending to the question I'm seeing on the chat. I mentioned somewhere around when I started that there is possibility of you using more than one methodologies in designing your software. You might start off with Waterfall. You probably see that maybe things are changing. The scope of the project is changing. Then you can change to maybe Agile. So you can, based on you can define how you want your project to go. So if you are the one being in charge of the project, so there's nothing wrong in combining one or two. But at times you might just end up choosing just one, because each of all these methodologies has its own pros and cons, and we will get to there. Okay. So some say I should carry on. So another question, please, what spec of laptop is best for this course? If I answer that question, you might end up giving up on programming. But the thing is this: I'll probably recommend maybe a 4 gig RAM, 512 or 256. It's not like you're uploading anything heavy. There may be minimum of what do they call i5 at least. That should serve you. That should serve you. Models. So you guys are asking me English question. What is model? So it's like your normal fashion shows. Who do you call models? Models are more of like those that show up what's probably what you are selling. So don't worry, you get the hang of it. So the thing is this. Let me even also say this. I remember mentioning that during my startup, I started with, of course, i7 4th generation will serve you very well. Okay. So I remember when I stated in the start of my in the start of this class that I started with Java. It wasn't making sense. I went to C#. I was still confused. Went to PHP and all. There's possibility that, and I'm not saying this against anybody, there are high chances that what you are doing, what you are learning this period, might not make sense to you now, but I'm certain that it will make sense to you later. So even if you are not probably catching up, probably you feel left behind by some other people, don't be discouraged. You will get there. Okay, as far as I could make it, you too will be able to make it. Okay, so if you say I should recommend a laptop, I'll just go ahead and tell you to buy Mac. So Waterfall. So let me proceed. Please hold on. Hold on, please. Okay, so let's proceed. Waterfall model. So I already explained what waterfall model is. So okay, do you want? Let me even focus on what a model is. Let's see how we can break that. So the thing is, the only thing coming to my head is what I use model for. So many a times in programming terms, you can see model as representing an object. Uh, for instance, by the time you guys move further in this software development class and all software engineering class, you hear something about using models to represent interactions with database and all. So in this particular case, the model itself is more of contextual. Now we're looking at this thing, integrative model, continuous model, and sequential model. So you can just see model in this case as a kind of a way that that particular methodology works. So you can say that methodology is iterative, it works in an iterative way, or it's a continuous way, or it's sequential. So it's just dependent on context. Okay. So let's focus on waterfall. So waterfall is simple and idealistic. It is important because other types of software development lifecycle are derived from this. So I believe we already had SDLC, that is software development lifecycle, in the last class. So I don't know if you guys still remember the various states we have under SDLC, but we'll still go through that over this class. So waterfall is the oldest, it's simple, and it's straightforward. Okay, so let's go further. Let me see if there's any question pertaining to this. So we will get to that. So I'm saying that how does one know the methodology to use? So that is why You need to understand what these methodologies are all about for you to decide which one suits the project you're working on. Okay? So let's hold on. Let's take it easy. Okay? So waterfall methodology, the key characteristics of waterfall methodology is sequential and linear, it's straightforward. It has distinct phase. Like you have already defined the various states. You know that okay, we have the inquiry phase, we have the design, we have the coding phase. They are all distinct. Okay, they are all distinct. Okay, then the next one is fixed requirement. So waterfall is beautiful when you want to work with contractors, like because many, let me say you want to build a let's say a management software for an hotel or maybe a hospital. They must have given you the requirements that they want in this particular software, meaning they are fixed requirements. They're not you are not doing anything more than it. So based on the fact that giving you fixed requirements, you know that everything there is distinct, is fixed. You can easily even predict how long that project should take. So many a times people see waterfall methodology as a means of as a contract methodology. We have already defined what should be there. If you are saying any other thing extra in the future, it's not our problem, it's a new project. So we proceed. So it's structured workflow, yeah, from one step to another. Then they will have documentation. So many a times I'll still go back to the contract stuff. Let's say a school wants you to build a software that manages results for them. After you guys have agreed on what should be done, everything will be documented. Okay, this school wants this, they want a page where users can log in, they want a page where they can click and make payments for school fees, they want a page to view results, they want a page for parents to be able to access students, their children in the portal. So everything will be documented. So sometimes a lot of time is even spent on the documentation compared to the implementation, because under waterfall you're avoiding a case of anything beyond the scope. Okay, so it's documented. There's limited iterations. So if you remember, I also specified that the various methodology are categorized into either you are linear, sequential, either you are iterated, either it's iteration or continuous. So under waterfall is limited. What that simply means is once you have passed a stage, there's high tendency that you are not going back. So that is why when you the whole contract stuff, once they are done and you're telling them that no, I don't like it this way, how about to add this? They are seeing it as a new contract, and that is waterfall methodology for you. Okay, so we have also clear milestones. So like I said, on the contract you must have specified I want this, I want this, I want this. So it's already clear. So that way those using the methodology can easily say that okay, we have done this, this is it. They give it to the stakeholders or the person requesting for the software. They have done this because everything have been defined on the documents. Okay, then we have predictable and stable. So the fact that you already have a fixed requirement, like I said, it's easier for you to determine how long the project will take, and it's stable. So we have also the well-defined process. Okay. I'll quickly look at the chart again if I'm getting any questions regarding this. Leave the live chat on the logo. No, that is not for me. We're going to learn. Are we going to learn how to use HTML for a payment session in a website? So the thing is this. I will continue hammering on this. Most of the growth, if you really want to go doing software development, it's not like other courses where you'll be confused. You need to learn to grow on your own. What we are giving to you is good foundation for you to be able to explore. So for instance, I see somebody mentioning something about payments. We can't actually teach you everything. There are various payment gateways out there. But by the virtue of you understand one, you should be able to work with others. So even if you don't understand one and you understand how programming works, you know what to look out for. Any payment gateway you're integrating, there's always documentation. you look out for the documentation. So I should explain more on documentation. Documents. How do you explain documents again? So probably you want to see document as paperwork or something written somewhere to describe what and what is expected of the project. Okay. So for instance, now you need documentation. You might specify who you are building for, what they're expecting from the project, how long the project should take, what are the milestones you want to say. Okay, by the time you're this, at what certain time should certain milestones be achieved. So stuff like that, you call them documents. Okay, some people will want to call it contracts, but they are all documentation. Okay, I'm seeing something about is waterfall methodology for small projects. I'm happy somebody is already advising you guys should be patient. So please be patient. You will decide that yourself. We'll get to that part. By the time I list all this, you should be able to determine if it's for small projects, it's for big projects, depending on the projects you are doing. And please know that there's no project that is small. So it's clear for the documentation. Okay, thank you. So I think that is that on the question part. I'm going to go back to the class. Okay, so we're going to the next slide. Okay. Okay, so waterfall methodology. So these are the various phases. I believe you guys must have heard of all these requirements, design, verification, and all. But if you can see the arrow pointing down from top to bottom, you discover that it starts with the requirement phase. So for instance, let me go back to my school example. A school meets me that they want to build a software that manages the students under them and all. First thing I'm going to get is the requirements. In some cases, how do you identify? You will get there. So we're on waterfall. So in some cases, you might spend a lot of time doing this requirement phase. You might spend a lot of time on this requirement phase because you want to ensure that everything that school wants in this case scenario is covered. So for instance, the school might tell me that, okay, this is their logo, if they have a logo, that they will want the websites to be, the color combination of the website to be from their logo. Maybe they have green or blue, stuff like that. They can tell me that, okay, they want a place for students to be able to log in. They also want parents to be able to log in. They also want the admin to be able to log in and make uploads of results and all. They may also say they want to also manage other things apart from results. Maybe they want to manage maybe heights of the students, maybe their performance in sports activities and all. So requirement phase, there is no coding work done. It's more of interactions, investigations, research with the people you are building for, the customers you are building for. Okay, so that is the requirement phase. Okay, so the next phase is the design phase. So mind you, the design phase, we are still not yet coding. All we are doing is gathering all these requirements, trying to see how are they connected together. Okay, so first of all, you want to see how the people logging in. Probably you want to compare, are we creating the same design and login portal for those that are admin users, for those that are students, or for those that are the what did I call them again? The parents. Okay, yeah, the parents. So you also want to ask yourself first of all, these people I've mentioned are the major people that will be using the platform. So from the requirements, you must have confirmed that is there any other set of people that will have access to this platform? So far I've called the admin users. There's even possibility that on the admin users part, there are different kind of admin. Maybe there's a super admin, maybe there are teachers, maybe there are classroom teachers and all. Let's say all those people are the admin. They will have the parents, they will have the students. Then you now want to define what access will these people have. Mind you, like I said, we are not implementing anything yet. We are just arranging all the data we have gotten from the requirements. Okay, so now you want to decide, okay, for the admin, obviously you want the admin, let's say the super admin in this case, to have access to everything you are building. Okay, now you ask yourself, do you want the students to have access to everything you are building? Of course, no. Before you have a case of students maybe scoring 12 and is changing it to 92. Okay, too many questions. I'm actually trying my best to answer as much as I can. So let me focus. So the students, so you want to decide what should the students have access to. Okay, probably you want them to have access to maybe registering their courses, and maybe also viewing their results, and or maybe making payments as well. Then the parents. So I'm called parents because I'm assuming maybe you're bidding for maybe a secondary school. I don't know if tertiary schools give access to parents, I doubt. So the parents, you want the parents also to have access to their children's results. So they can tell if probably there is something malicious being done, and they can also tell the progress of their students by themselves. So this is just one phase. There are other things you also want to monitor. So all these things are being done in the design phase. So you arrange everything and you decide what connects to what. That is the design phase. Then you go to the implementation. So the implementation is where you actually code. You see that code you guys have been clamoring for? This is where you do it. But the thing is this, you want to avoid the case of going back, because remember in Waterfall, you don't go back. It's a straight down process. So you want to make sure you got your requirements right, you got your design right. So when you're implementing, no going back, it's forward ever. Okay. Then once you are done with your implementation phase, which is the coding phase, of which you must have decided based on what you are building, which language is better suited for it. Are you building a desktop app, or is it a web app, or is it a mobile app? You decide. Are you going to be using C Sharp? Are you going to be using PHP? Are you going to be using JavaScript? You decide. And please don't forget what I said about programming language. They are just syntax. Focus on understanding the core concepts of programming. Then picking any language will be a breeze for you. Okay? So let's proceed. After you are done with your implementation, then we have the verification. So some writers out there will call it the test phase. So in this case, you are verifying that everything you have implemented are working as it should. You are verifying that everything that was specified right from the requirement phase is covered by your implementation. So that is the test phase stroke verification. Then last but not the least, you have the maintenance. Obviously, anything you build will require maintenance. Even when you build house, you need to maintain it. Except after a while, you start seeing one or two modes and all on the houses. So you maintain. So under maintenance, you check your code, you make sure everything is going on fine. You are not doing much of coding here. All you are doing is maintaining. So this is the waterfall model. From top to bottom, requirements, design, implementation, verification, maintenance. There is no going back. There is no little or no chance of you going back. Okay? So we'll proceed to the next slide. So waterfall methodology. So please pay attention here, because this is part of what help you decide if waterfall is better suited for the project you are trying to build. So we do pros and cons. You can say advantage and disadvantage. So the first one is presence of a clear structure. So by virtue of the definition, remember, by virtue of the steps you take in doing your waterfall, you have already ensured that you get all the requirements. So meaning everything has been defined. You already know the various phases. So it's clear from the onset. Okay? So please, can you explain the design again? So I'll just quickly go back. So I said, like, for the design, you are not really doing coding. All you are doing is gathering what was specified on the requirements and linking them, finding the connection between each one of them, deciding which of the actors will have access to the various parts of your software. Okay. So we'll continue. So we have talked of presence of a clear structure. We have smooth transfer of information, of course. Since everything has been defined, It's easier for you to say, okay, you are done with one phase and you can easily move to another phase. Okay. So we have easy to manage as well. We have easy determination of goals because now you have clear milestones defined. So you know when you have achieved certain milestones based on the requirements given to you. Then lastly, we have extremely stable. So since everything has already been defined from the onset and there's no change of requirements and all, it will be stable. There's nobody telling that, no, I don't like this button here. Please, why are we giving parents access to this? Let's remove this. It's already defined. So your software the software you are producing is stable. So now it's like almost everything in life. There is pros and there is cons. So for the cons part, we have costly and inflexible. So now, costly, you can look at costly in the sense of probably by you got a contractor to do one or two things for you. Uh, by the time you are probably contractor has already started working on it, you discover that you probably missed something. You coming back to that contractor to say, please, I missed this. Like I said, it's seen as a new project, meaning you are paying separately for it. Okay? Then inflexible, like I said, there's no room for adjustment. If everything is not captured within the requirements phase, it's seen as a new project. Okay? So now the next one is this. Doesn't prioritize the client or end users, obviously. So like I said, the moment, let me say I'm building something for a particular user and the user say that, please, I would like to do this. As if I'm using Waterfall methodology, I say it's a new contract, meaning I'm not accepting any new change. Then we have delayed testing. So if you notice, we had the requirement phase, the design phase, the implementation phase before we go to the testing. So there was no time for you to even confirm if the requirements or stuff you are getting from the end user or the stakeholder is actually valid till you are done with implementation. So that is delayed testing. There are no scope or revision or reflection. Like I say, once you are done, you are done. If there's any extra stuff, it's a new project. Okay? So that is that for waterfall methodology. So that is a quick summary. So I will still check this again. You still have chances to read up on this. So what we are giving to is soft landing, so that by the time you come across these stuffs, these terminologies, you won't be scared. So anything we are telling you here is basically what it should be. You can decide on your own to dive more deeper, and that is how you grow. Okay? So let's proceed. So next we are going to the agile methodology that almost everyone is saying. So agile, some will say it's agile. So I call it agile. So definition. So agile methodology is a project management approach that emphasizes on iterative. Why is it why is it pro 5 and cons 4? Like I said, you can research. Probably by the time you research, you might see up to 6 pros is on you. You might see more than 4 cons. But that is a brief summary of what I can give you. Okay? What I feel is important for you to know for now. Okay? It's like the questions are not even ending anytime soon, but let's proceed. Like I mentioned, Agile is an iterative method. It's continuous. You're looking at continuous feedback and adapting to change. So comparing this to Waterfall is iterative. Waterfall is sequential. Agile, you can go back up. Maybe you miss something in the requirements, you can go back up. Okay? It's continuous feedback, meaning you are always asking the customer, please, this thing I'm doing for you, does it make sense to you? There's always back and forth. So this might sound sweet. So you meet customers that the requirements will never end. So that's why I say depending on the project, we determine which methodology suits it. So you will decide that yourself. Then adapting to change. So since it's something continuous and you're always getting feedback, meaning you can easily make changes, unlike your waterfall procedure. So the key principles of Agile, uh, individuals and interaction over processes and tools. Okay. You give more priority to your interaction with your team members, your interaction to the end users. Over, this is the process. I'm doing this thing start to finish. You can't disturb me till I'm done. Then working software over comprehensive documentation. So we are not saying that documentation is not good. In fact, there are some companies you work that before you even do anything, you'll be forced to provide documentation. Then with Agile, they favor you providing a software that is working over documentation. But we are not saying documentation is not important. But mind you, look at the word, there is comprehensive documentation. Okay? So we move. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. I've mentioned a lot of contracts on Waterfall. You are seeing the difference here. Then we have response to change over following a plan. Unlike Waterfall, where you have a defined plan, for Agile, if there's a change, you respond to it. If there's something you are building and it's not sitting well with your end users, you are changing it. If it's Waterfall, you are done, except you are saying it as a new project. Okay? So let me quickly see if there's any way. So in terms of attendance, you do your attendance by 8. You'll be going on a short break by 8. By then you have your attendance. Okay? So please relax. So we proceed to the next slide. So this is the look of Agile, just a summary design look of what Agile should look like. So still similar with what you have on the same terminologies of your SDLC we have on Waterfall, but the flow is different. So you can see that you have the plan. After the plan, you design, you develop, you test, you deploy, then you review, then you come back to design again. So the only time you are breaking out of this cycle, which is iterative, is when you are certain that what you are reviewing is working fine. Then you can go ahead and launch. Okay? Agile all the way. Don't worry, your body will tell you when that time comes. So maintenance is still part of it. So don't let the methodology confuse you. You can still see maintain. So, like for instance, now Agile is kind of a continuous process. It doesn't end as far as you are getting feedback. The fact that you are getting feedback and you're implementing, you're already making maintenance. Okay, so I'll go over it again. You plan, you design, you develop, you test, you deploy. Then by the time you get feedback from your deployment, probably after deploying, your users go and test, this thing is not working fine. I would have preferred this in a yellow color or a red color or a green color. You review, you redesign again, you develop. You continue that way, unlike your Waterfall model. So but the thing is this, you say Agile all the way, but it takes a lot of time. Unlike the Waterfall, whereby you have everything defined. With Agile, if you meet some customers that are willing to stress you, like for some designers, you hear, remove this icon, put this icon and all. You continue doing it. You look as if the project is not ending. So depending on your project, you can decide which methodology works for you. So let me look at this question quickly. If I start a project with Waterfall and I wasn't aware of the client's nature of changing requirements, you can actually change, like I said. So there's no one putting a gun to you that you must follow certain stuff, like this is how it should be. But the thing is this, when you are making such change, you need to make sure you communicate with your customers that based on these new requirements, you should realize that even if I'm saying that this project should end 3 months, we might end up extending this due to the new changes you are bringing, okay? So you can mix the two if you want to. So let's proceed. So we now go to the next slide. So pros and cons. So somebody was asking why there was 5 and 4. 5 pros and 4 cons for Waterfall. Now, I have 4. I hope you're okay with this one. So what is the difference between launch and review? So launching, how do they launch things again? When you launch things, you are making your products open to the public that you are done and everything is okay. So for instance, now when you build a software, let me say a mobile app, for instance. You can create, there's something we have, let me say you are building, even if you are building from iOS or Android users, there are people we call test users. When you push your app, they have access to the app before the public. So by the time they test, they can give you review and feedback before you go back and make changes. So by the time you are starting, you are getting a good okay from them, then you can go ahead and launch. Okay. So I don't know if I answered your question properly. So, but Waterfall is like school result portal. That doesn't mean you cannot apply Agile to it, because, for instance, now the school might come up with new, like, okay, I know we want the results to carry XYZ. Can we add this? Can we generate unique IDs? So, like I said, you will decide. For me, it's my job to expose you to these various models. It's on you to decide which one applies better to the project you are trying to work on. Okay? So, let's proceed. Pros and cons of Agile methodology. So, ID for innovative projects. So, for projects you feel you always be getting inspirations, you always be getting reminders as to a better way to do things, meaning always changing. Agile is the way for you. Stakeholders involvement. So, on Agile, you're always collaborating, you're always communicating with your end users, with your team. I'm already talking of team, you're with your end users and the people you are building projects for. So that way you are carrying them along. So if there's any issue, probably there's something that needs to change, they easily communicate it to you. You don't need to wait. They don't need to wait till when you are done and tell them, if you are saying anything new, this is outside the scope of what we discussed. It's a new project. So it promotes team collaboration, obviously, because you are communicating with your team. It fosters continuous improvement. So, for instance, the WhatsApp we have as of 10 years ago is not the WhatsApp we have now, because there's always chance for improvement. There are some software that's the way it has been since when they built it. That is how it is till now. I can't think of anyone for now. But with Agile, you're always growing. You're always making changes. You're always getting feedback from your customers, looking on how you can make things better. Okay? So now the cons. Not good for predictable projects. So obviously, there should be no reason you are using Agile for a project you already have everything defined. Let me say you want to build your portfolio website, a website that will carry all the projects you have done, your name and all. Why are you doing Agile? Where you already know what and what should be there. You can just simply do your waterfall and you get it done with. So please, in Agile, is there going to be? Of course, so everything, there's documentation. So like I said, what Agile came against was Agile favors working software over comprehensive documentation. That doesn't mean there is no. Look at this guy, what Agile said. Oh, that doesn't mean there won't be any documentation. It's unlike Waterfall that will ensure that you get all the documentation from the requirements. For Agile, is continuous. Your documentation is always changing based on the feedback you are getting from your stakeholder, based on what you are building. So documentation is still part of it. That is not the most important. What is more important is getting a working software. Okay? Okay, so since somebody already mentioned that. So let's proceed. So changing delivery dates. So obviously, as far as you are getting feedback from customers, you might end up in a loop building something that will never end. In the past, I've worked on projects. I'm like, God, when will this project end? By the time we're about to push it to here, I think we can do this better. Let's remove this. Let's add this. You end up building projects that will never get out there because you're always making changes. So you need to be careful. So the next thing is team members need to be highly skilled. So for you to use things like Agile that is always changing, you need to ensure that the people you are working with, they are active. Yeah, let me use that word, active. That any change that is coming in, they are ready to implement. They are ready to give results. But if you are working with people that are just managing probably everything they are working on, they are going online to research, they are just trying to survive on the project and you're always making changes, that project won't go well. So for Agile, you need them to be highly skilled. So now that I'm saying this, what I expect of you is start thinking, okay, this project that I want to build for myself, do I have a set of team members that are skilled? If they are not skilled, is Agile the way for me? You start asking yourself that question. Then the last but the not the least is scalability issues, right? Say something is always changing and it's hard for you to set terms as to when should you increase the server length or when should you increase the RAM, the memory, because you can't really determine because it's always changing. Okay, so these are just a few pros and cons I could get for you for Agile methodology. Like I say for the Waterfall, there are still more out there if you want to, but these are the most important ones. Okay, so so far I'm not seeing any. Let me quickly see if I can look through the questions to see if there's anything that I missed. Let's see. Paying attention is more important. So we get the slide. Please loud it. Let me tell them. Is methodology very important? This I would have waited till I'm done with my slide, and I'll not end it by saying with these few words of mine, I hope I'm able to convince you that methodology is important. So I'm not saying that you cannot build without. You can obviously build softwares without methodology, but by the time you apply methodology, you already seen all the various phases. You have an idea of where you are going. So it helps you keep tracks of what you are doing wrong. It helps you make sure that we ship out something that is of high quality. So it is very important, sir, or is it ma? It's very important. Okay. So let's proceed. We have 5 minutes more before the break. So let's see if we can start with DevOps. Okay. So sir, for Agile methodology, is it used just for project that requires changes? It can be used. Well, I'm not the one that will decide that for you. So I gave you a lot of pros and cons. I only mentioned changes as one of it. It might be a project that doesn't probably require changes, but maybe you have high skilled people in them. You can use Agile. So if you are determining, if you are choosing, if you are deciding, let me deciding on which methodology to use, you should look at what are their key goals or their important stuff and all. You should look at their pros and cons. Which one will favor you? Then it becomes easy for you to determine, okay, am I going the agile way or am I going waterfall? So there's nothing wrong in using waterfall. It's just like there's nothing wrong with any programming language. Okay, so let's proceed. I see a question. Probably I'll just take some questions down till we get to it. So let me see if I can answer some questions. So what is the difference between launch and deploy? So deploy is, you can see deploy as pushing to the server. Independent of agile methodology, deployment is you pushing your work to the server. Launching is more of like an announcement. So for instance, now you hear launch of probably new techno phones and all. That doesn't mean that that phone has not been created maybe a month or 2 months ago. So that creation process that your device is already available, you can see that as the deployment. Then you launching it is making it open to the public that I have this, so please come and patronize me, come and get these products. So that is just, you can look at it that way. So they say, please, how is documentation for each of the methodology done? Is it the job of the software? Some people are already pushing job rules. So I will avoid to shoot myself. Is your job as well. So some people will claim that it's the job of the projects or the product managers and all. But somehow, there's nothing wrong. It applies to everyone. It's your job as a software developer. It's a job as a project manager as well. So it's your job too. Okay, so don't run away from it. Documentation is good. So if you don't, sometimes, many a times, when you get to the point you build several products, if you don't have proper documentation on them, probably you want to go back and make an update. it will be difficult for you to determine what you are trying to do on that project. You are like, "Ah, what was I thinking when I write this?" But if you have proper documentation, you can easily keep track and make changes. So documentation is important. How do you deploy? We will get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. When are we going to write attendance? You're going to write attendance in the next 2 minutes time. Do you have a team? Sir, please, one person can't build a website. One person can build a website. You can build a software. So that is why we're equipping you with this skill. Sometimes you get to a company whereby uh, they just have one person doing everything. So, for instance, now for me, I believe there's nothing really as a full stack developer, even if I claim to be one. Because even as a developer, you tend to favor one. You tend to be maybe either more back or more front, and maybe a proper mix of the both. So in some companies, you might end up being the one that writes the code, deploy it yourself, and push. Even apart from companies, you might end up deciding to build something for yourself, or maybe for your church, or maybe for your family, or for your business. You can write everything from start to finish, down to purchase of domain, down to the deployment. So yes, one person can build a software and deploy it. Okay. So when you say server, what is it used for in respect to the program? Hmm. So a server, you can see server as a local disk. Excuse- you can see server as a local hard drive in the cloud. So server is actually where you put your projects. Resume back in 5 minutes time. Okay. So yeah, it's time for attendance here. So let's have our break now. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So, welcome back, everyone. So, I believe we can continue now. Those having issues with attendance must have been sorted out by now. Okay. So, let's proceed. I will just answer one question from the chat before I proceed. So, while the attendance was going on, I saw a question concerning me explaining what iterative means. So, in simple terms, you can see iterative as something being repetitive, okay? Continuously repeating something. You can call that iterative, okay? So let's proceed. Uh, DevOps approach. So the DevOps you are seeing here is the combination of two words, which is development and operation. So that's why I have the O in capital letter, DevOps. So, from the definition, you have DevOps is a set of practice that integrates software development and IT operations to improve the speed and reliability of software deliveries. It aims to break down silos between teams, foster collaboration, and automate processes to enable faster, more frequent releases. So, in summary, the major thing you should be looking at in terms of DevOps, I stand to be corrected, is more of automating your processes and more frequent releases. So it bridges the gap, key goals. It bridges the gap between development and operation and faster deliveries and more reliable releases since it's always frequent. So we'll go to the next one. So this is like a diagram picturing how the DevOps approach looks like. So if you notice, unlike the waterfall, which is top to bottom, and the agile, which is iterative until you launch, the DevOps approach is continuous. That's why we have this infinity symbol here. So you can see from plan to code to build, then you test, then you release, then you deploy, then you operate, then you monitor if everything is okay, then you go back to plan. So with this, the major thing is you have faster releases. That is important. So DevOps is like taking the whole agile process faster to adding automation and continuous releases. So that is just the major thing about DevOps. Now they say DevOps to the moon. Okay, so let's proceed. So DevOps. So pros and cons for this time around. So we have accelerated development cycle and faster. Yeah. Improve collaboration and communication just like your agile. Facilitate continuous integration and delivery. So you're continuously integrating and you're delivering. You call it CI/CD in most cases. You get to know more of this when we get to the DevOps parts. Then increase software reliability and stability because they are faster release. If there is an issue, you are quickly building something and are releasing it to fix it. Then cons, initial implement complexity. So the initial setup of for instance, a CI/CD setup and all is not that easy. There are certain softwares you need to do, though there are some platforms out there that helps you automate some of these things now, but it's not easy. It's not really easy. In most cases, you might need to get someone that specializes as a DevOps to help you do the setup in most cases. So, resistance to cultural changes. Well, you still get to do more changes with DevOps, just that it's more of something, it doesn't end. So, it's not like it's a whole pack of waiting till everything end before you get change. So, now the next one is potential security risk with automation. So the whole world is going AI. Okay, let me leave that part. So the thing is, when you are sometimes when you are leaving things for automation, if those automation tools are nowhere built and structured out, you might be leaving yourself exposed. So for instance, now you might want I want to avoid calling terms you're not used to. You might want to avoid maybe aligning your code base and have straight access to your server. so that you don't want a case that anybody that have access to where you keep your code base automatically can access your server. But with automation, you need to make those things them sync. So which kind of poses a security risk. Then the last but not the least, overemphasis on speed can lead to error. So I think this one is self-explanatory. Like when you are too fast, it's easier for you to make errors. Okay. So that is for DevOps approach. So I'll be going to the next slide now. So the next thing we have here is just a comparison between Waterfall, Agile, and DevOps. So we are looking at this in terms of future. So the first one is in terms of approach. Waterfall is sequential from top to bottom. Agile is iterative, that is repetitive till you get what you want. DevOps is continuous. You are continuously pushing. It doesn't end. Okay. Then flexibility. Waterfall is not flexible. Like I say from the onset, by the time you are done defining your requirements, there is no change that is going into the project till you are done and you are seeing it as a new project. In terms of flexibility for Agile and DevOps is high. So in terms of feedback for Waterfall, it's late because you must have been done with all the phases before you are looking at taking feedback. And even the feedback you are taking is seen as a new contract and a new project, okay? But for Agile, it's frequent, and for DevOps, it's continuous. So tools you use on Waterfall, you use things like Gantt and MS Project. For Agile, you're using things like Jira and Trello. They're like board management stuff and all to keep track of progress of projects. Then for DevOps, you use things like Jenkins and Docker. You get to know this. Don't ask what it means. When that time comes, you will know. Okay? Then for team structures, in terms of Waterfall is fixed. Everybody have a defined role already. In terms of Agile, it's cross-functional because they're always in communication. Then in DevOps, it's collaborative. They're cooperating. Okay? Then we're going to the next slide now. So the next slide, which is what you as a software engineer should focus on, is how do you choose the right methodology? So what are the things you need to look out for when you are picking the right methodology for your project? So the first you should look at is dependent on the size of your team and the experience of your teammates. So I already said, okay, so for instance, now I mentioned that if your teammates, if the team you have working with you are not experienced, you should stay away from Agile because Agile requires continuous change. So things like this is what you should be looking at for. Do you have a large team size? Are your team size experienced? The next thing you should be looking at is the project scope and timeline. Is it a fixed project? Is it a project that everything is defined already? Or is it a project that you can't tell how long it's going to take? That should help you deciding as well. Then, client involvement and feedback needs. So is it a project that you'll be needing much of feedback from your client? For something like that, obviously, you know you're looking at Waterfall. But if this is something that you want your client to be part of the development process, then you might probably consider Waterfall or the DevOps approach. Then risk tolerance and adaptability. So if you are looking for something that is away from risks at all, everything on the requirement phase is all you want to do, you are looking at Waterfall. But you are looking for something that should adapt to change. You have your Agile there, and you have your what do we call it? Your DevOps approach. Okay. So real world examples. So somewhere along the line, we have already mentioned some examples you should look at when, like real life examples. So for instance, I already mentioned things like getting contracts, maybe government contracts and all. Already there's already a defined scope of what should be done. And when you get contracts from such people, they're already telling you that this contract they want it done probably by the end of the year or maybe in 6 months' time. So you already have a defined scope. So for cases like that, it's most likely Waterfall. So Agile is what most startups use because of since probably they are just getting into the business they are trying to build something that will suit the need of the users they are building that software for. So it's all about building something, getting feedback, making changes. So that way, the agile way. Then the DevOps way, that is cloud-based SaaS platform, so software as a service. Let's see if I can think of anyone. For now, nothing comes to mind. So, but what you should focus on is the pros and the cons. With that, it makes it easier for you to decide which one is better suited for a particular project. Maybe you are working alone or you are working at a team. You guys need to agree on what methodology to use, or if you are going to start with a particular one and end up switching to another one. Like I said, there's not a fixed rule that you must use Waterfall. You might end up starting with Waterfall, then you move to Agile, or you might do Agile in combination with DevOps. So it's all dependent on you. Okay. So summary and take away. No one size fits all. So I hope from everything I've said so far, I've not ended up telling you that Waterfall is better than Agile or Agile is better than DevOps. It's all I said meaning of SAS. I'll get to all the questions. So it's all dependent on the project you're working on. They are all good. A project might require you to use even more than one, maybe two or maybe three. So for you to decide which one works for you, you need to focus on understanding the pros and cons of each. Then you link it to the project you are trying to work on. So from there you can decide. Then lastly, pick based on project content. So it's still same thing I said. Your project will help you determine which or how many of these methodologies you should apply. So what next? For those clamoring to when are we going to code? From the next class, you should start coding. So for our next class, we'll be having syntax, variables, function, and control flow. So my fellow colleagues that I may had classes before, that have had classes before me, we will be taking that. So I think that is that. So for now, I will just take some questions. I'll take some questions and we are probably done. I just hope this was not too long for you guys. So with these few points of mine, okay, someone is already asking some questions. So we have some brilliant people here already. So with these few points of mine, or with these few slides of mine, I hope I've not ended up confusing you, but instead encouraging you to know that methodologies are the way to build something of great quality. It helps you determine how long should be spent on building projects and deciding the right way to go about a project. So I'll look at the questions now and answer some of them, then we can call it a night. Okay, so let me see. Someone asked what SAS means. I think I mentioned it somehow. Software as a service. Okay, some people already mentioned it. So let me see. Iterative means repetitive. Okay. So for some reason, some people are already answering the questions, meaning less work for me. So which is good. Please go play. I don't get the DevOps. So somebody is still having issues with the DevOps. So like I said, see the DevOps as just a continuation of Agile. But the only difference is you are pushing things faster. You are releasing faster. You are making updates faster. The public are getting to see your product faster compared to Agile, where there must be a review phase before releasing. Okay, this one you are sending it out faster. So we have various softwares like that on our mobile phone. Like I think I'll still call WhatsApp again. It's almost as if it's every 2 days you are seeing a new update. So stuff like that. Okay. So let me see if there's any other question I can pick. Okay. How can we watch the video? I think there's provision for that as well. SAS, software as a service. I think I'm not seeing any question. Please, list of softwares to install. So it's actually dependent on what you want to do. But for this, I think basically what you need is VS Code. Please go and install VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Just search for VS Code, okay? But for those that are already used to programming, you might have other editors you preferably use, but VS Code is globally acceptable, okay? For now, let's start with that. Just get your VS Code and a working system. You should be fine, okay? Can we use phone to code? So I believe from the first class we had, we said it's not that it's not possible, but it's encouraged to use a system. You won't get proper, how do I put it? You won't enjoy it more. You won't enjoy it well. So try and get a system. Do we need Git? Some people already, I'm tempted to use the word there. You will get to there. Let's not intimidate others. I don't know the meaning of Git. We will get to Git. Okay? We'll get to Git repository. So please explain Waterfall, Agile. You're asking me to start afresh. So don't worry, the video will be uploaded. So like I said before, don't feel intimidated if you don't get all these things. But it will sink in later. Okay? The next question, what languages are we going to use? I also mentioned something. The language shouldn't be your focus. Your focus should be understanding the concept of writing a proper software or program. Yeah, so we might end up probably using JavaScript or TypeScript or PHP or C Sharp or Java, but they all follow same principle. They are all syntax. So don't let language be a barrier to you. Okay, that is the way I want you to understand programming. Okay, then I see uh another, what of Sublime? Yeah, Sublime. I remember when I started coding, I think I started with Notepad and also use Sublime. So if you're okay with Sublime, please go ahead. It's all on you. Okay. Then what areas, sir, please, areas where each methodology can be used. I think I already mentioned that. So all you should focus on is the pros and cons. With that, you should be able de- to decide which one better suits the project you are working on. Okay. Can we use phone to code for the next class? Please, I will not advise you to go and steal anybody's system. You go and get a system, please, for your own sake. Okay? It doesn't even need to be something great. You can even end up getting there are systems they call mini laptops. It will still serve you. We are not doing something that heavy yet, so just get a system. Is the LLC software on MS Word? Did I mention anything pertaining to MS Word? So I will get to DevOps later. We'll get to I still mention the process of DevOps. We'll still explain DevOps in details. So this is just basic introduction of methodologies. So we're not focusing on DevOps here. Please, can Waterfall methodology be used in software that needs updating? Yeah. If you are the one building something, you can build everything from start to finish and you push. Then when there are new changes again, you gather requirements again, you design, then you push. It's all on you. It doesn't really matter. You can use it for updating. Okay? So I'm in class. Okay, that is not a question for me. Why is waterfall methodology costly? Oh, so like I mentioned, and since everything you are not waiting, you don't get customers' feedback. In most cases, you might end up building something that is not what the customer is expecting from you. That way, you have ended up wasting resources. So you have to go back again and start gathering requirements and redesign it. But if along the line you carry the customer and probably you are deviating, so it's easier to point out something to you that this is not what I want. So that is why it's costly. Not to mention if it's a contract as well, you have already paid for it, your money is gone. You are paying again for another contract. Then how relevant is V model in modern development? I didn't mention anything V model, so I'm not touching that. Are we coding in the next class? Hopefully, you are coding in the next class. So just get your system ready. Uh, And what are the metrics to choosing methodology? So I think I already pointed at the team size, the project scope. I think it was close to my last slides. You get it when we get the slide. You can confirm when you get the slide. Yeah, so we are coding in the next class. Please, the face chart for this. Can you show and explain it again? Okay. You guys should have conscience. So I will just explain it quickly. I say you should see it like an extension of Agile. The only difference is you are releasing faster. Unlike Agile, where you need to review before launch, you are launching more builds. That is the only major difference. Okay? Contact me for affordable laptops. Okay? That's no question. So please, there are some questions that is just dragging our tutor unnecessary. But so, like I said, I'm done. I'll just pick 3 questions now, and I think I can call it a night. 3 reasonable questions. If I skip your questions, don't worry. You'll get the answer to it later, maybe by another tutor. So since Waterfall is costly, then Agile is the best out of all, since Agile carry customer along. Yeah, in a way, yeah. But still, you should still dependent on projects. Still dependent on projects. Okay, so. Oh, okay. So see, welcome to my world of light. Thank God I'm done with the whole stuff and all. So I think I can just take off the video. So I think somebody asked a question concerning this thing, documentation. You can use MS Word for documentation. It's just simply typing. Okay, you can use MS Word. It's accepted. So when is the next class scheduled? We have our next class on Monday, same time. So I think that's which app can we use for coding? So just get your your editors ready. I already mentioned we should all download VS Code. So just search VS Code. That is one I will recommend. Okay. So I think we are done. We are done for now. So I think that'll be all for now. So thank you all for having this session with me. Like I said, from the onset, you need to learn to be patient. It's not going to be easy, but I hope it's a fun journey for you. There's nothing as fun as being paid for something you enjoy doing. So just try and enjoy the process, okay? Enjoy the process. Even if it seems as if you are not getting the hang of it, do not be discouraged. You will get it in time. You'll get it as time proceeds. Don't let others make you feel like you're lost. After this class, there's nothing wrong you finding time to go and do some research on yourself. We can't give you everything. We're doing as much as best to give you what we feel you should need. So you on your own can get more when you do more research for yourself, and that is how you go. So thank you very much and have a nice night. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Praise Oladipo and thank you, Incubator. Hi there, my name is Praise Oladipo.